Hi, I'm Jessica, and welcome to my FlossTube channel, Hero Born Stitches. It is early in the morning, Sunday, February 8th, and I am coming to you with my weekly update. Originally, I think I had planned to do bi-weekly updates, but it just gets to be a lot, and the videos get really long. So I think I am on a weekly schedule now, and hopefully getting this done. I had planned to record this video yesterday, but we had to get some work done on our dishwasher, which is on the other side of the wall behind me, and it was going to be loud. So I delayed, and then it was late in the day. And so here I am, early Sunday morning. I am in my dining room, and I have a wall of windows across from me in my mid-century home. It is the only room in the entire house where I can get decent light because the house was built apparently before people realized that they needed light. So it is the best place. And the sun is coming up. So there will be some weird shadows and all of that stuff happening around me. Yeah. So today, not much of a life update. I have just been working. I'll just talk about that just briefly in a minute. And then I've got, I think, 10 WIPs to work through with you guys. One of them should have been shown last week. So WIPS stands for work in process or work in progress, depending on who you talk to. And so I've got some of those to show you. I have just a teeny bit of haul. But the exciting thing is that I have crossed over that 300 follower mark. Now, I'm not sure I've safely crossed over that 300 follower mark words, because sometimes YouTube comes in and like wipe out a bunch of bots. And I'm not sure if those are real people or if those are bots, but I'm taking them as real people. So because of that, I want to give back to all of those of you who watched me and subscribe and help support me and make me feel like I'm not a crazy person just talking to myself all the time. So there will be a little bit of a giveaway at the end. So stay tuned. We'll talk about that at the end. So as far as life goes, I have just been working. I have been up at the office every single day. I think 7:30 was the latest that I got in. Some days it was more like 6 o'clock. And yes, 6 in the morning. I'm an early morning person. 10 times more productive in the morning. Useless after 3 o'clock. And I have not gotten home before 5 any single day this week. So it has been a really busy week at work. And I'm amazed I got as much stitching done as I did. So I'm very happy to be bringing you 10 WIPs, even though one of them should have been shown last week. So first thing I want to do is kind of go through my temperature stitching. Well, first we will show the old WIP, but that was part of temperature stitching too. So first we'll go through temperature stitching, and then I've got a couple SAL updates, and then some update on my WIPGO progress. And that's about where we are today. So hopefully I won't ramble on for too long. So the first WIP I have to show you is The Princess and the Pea by Hickory Hollow. This is what it will look like when it was done. When it is done, it is getting done, hopefully. And this is where it was last time you saw it. This is my oldest counted cross stitch WIP. I started this when I was in my late teens, in the late 80s, with the thought that I was going to finish it and hang it on a daughter's wall that I was going to have someday. And I did have a daughter, and she is now 30 years old, almost 31. And yeah, it's still not done, but that's okay. It really is. I'm fine with it. But anyway, the reason I forgot it, if you guys watched my last video, you know that there was 100 stitches that I couldn't figure out where they went. And I thought I had identified it, but I had not. I'm not sure how it came to me that it was this, but it was indeed this. So I did 100 stitches on this, and I didn't show it to you last time. So all that I really did, and I think I'm not too bad. All that I really did was the back stitch around the word P. Now I'm not entirely done with that yet. I still have a little bit to do on the A there, and it might seem kind of silly that I didn't finish it off, but I was already over my 100 stitches by the time I got to that point, and I'd have to start a new length of floss, and I know that I will be picking it up again at some point soon. So I will just finish that back stitch around the word P. Then I'm going to move to the back stitch around Princess, then the back stitch around the moon and the window, and then finally her hair and her crown and face and all of that stuff. And try to get this top part of the pattern finished before I move on to the bed frame and the rest of the quilts that I haven't touched yet. So temperature stitching, for anyone who is not familiar with it, is just a way of trying to get some work on WIPs that maybe haven't seen the light of day in a while, things that you would like to see some progress on, but are not going to really be a focus anytime in the near future. So it is temperature stitching. People do it all different sorts of ways. It's your rules. You get to make them up. But what I have chosen to do is I have taken the digits 0 through 9 and assigned a WIP for each one of those digits. So I have a WIP assigned to the number 0, a WIP assigned to the number 1. And this year I'm really, for my temperature stitching, focusing on the oldest WIPs that I have, trying to get some good finishes there. So anyway, so on Saturday morning, I will wake up in the morning and the first thing I do is I look at the projected high temperatures for the week. And then I will put 100 stitches into each WIP that has a corresponding last digit of the temperature for that week. So for instance, if there were 2 days in the upcoming week where the projected high ended in a 3, I would put 200 stitches into the WIP that corresponded with that 3. So it's 700 stitches a week. It's not that much. Sometimes it is 7 different WIPs. Sometimes it's 3 different WIPs. You never really know. So you're kind of leaving that a little bit randomized, so you don't need to think about it and still can get that progress. I have really seen amazing things happen. I have only been doing temperature stitching for less than a year, and the amount of progress I've got on things that have gone untouched for a very long time, I am super proud of. So it's a great thing to do. So the reason I had forgot the Princess and the Pea is that it had rotated out of temperature stitching because it had reached its 1,000 stitches. I usually try to rotate them out after they have been called 10 times or have 1,000 stitches in them, unless if they're really close to being finished. And then I try to keep them in. So I know I'll be rotating the Princess and the Pea back in at some point, but right now she got replaced by something else. And actually, at least 7, if not 8, of the works of my WIPs that are in my temperature stitching right now will be in there until they're finished because they're so close to being done. This next one, however, is not one of them. So the next piece of temperature stitching I have is the Moon and Sun Sampler. It's by the Scarlet letter. This was a kit I purchased a very long time ago and had started, and I think I probably put maybe 100, 200 stitches into this border and then stopped. Well, this is where it was last time you saw it, and it is a very boring update because I am just continuing to put the gold stitches in between the green stitches around the border. So this is being done 1/1 on this mystery piece of linen that came in the kit with silk floss that came in the kit. It's going to be really hard for you guys to see any progress on it because it's all mixed in here. But if you guys can see, there's little gold stitches, maybe not light. It is a good thing. I put the gold stitches in all the way across the top in between the green, and then I have worked them down the side almost to the bottom. So that's maybe, you can maybe see a little bit better, a little bit, maybe, I don't know, almost down to the bottom here. So that was called once, so I put 100 stitches into that. So slow but sure, it is getting there. I am bound and determined on this one to eat my vegetables first and get that whole border done, especially since it matched up when I got all the way around before I start doing anything very interesting with it. The second piece that was called this past week was Daffodil Drive by Stitching with the Housewives. I had finished the entire house before and just was working on the sign that goes above the house. So this, if I have a picture of where it was last time, I will put it in here. I'm not 100% sure I do because usually the first thing that I do before I sit down to record is take pictures of everything I'm showing you guys, to make sure I have those for the next video. But it looks like I did not do that last week. So I am not sure I have a picture of where it was. If I do, I'll put it up there. But again, pretty boring update here. All that I did this past week was, I think the word daffodil was done last week, and the one color of the gingham border was, and I've got hanging threads here, and that's okay because that's normal. We all have hanging threads. So I just finished that color across the bottom and then kind of counted up and started the part of the gingham border on the top. So this is just being done on white 28 count white Monaco, 2/2 with a called for classic color works. So this will stay in temperature stitching until it's done. This is not going to take that long if it actually gets called. And I will have that finished when it's there. I will also say I have needle minders. I almost never use them, and I just stick the needles in my fabric when I'm done. And I used to take them out before I did FlossTube videos, but I stopped doing that because I kept on losing my needles. So you're going to see a lot of needles today. The next piece of temperature stitching that was called this week was, I don't know why I got the letters. I know what letter I am stitching, but H from GHI, from the Prairie Schooler, and this is what it will look like when it's done. The Prairie Schooler many years ago did this series where they have a relatively small cross stitch piece for each letter of the alphabet. I do not know why I have GHI. Makes absolutely no sense. But if I have a picture of where it was, I don't think I do, because this was last week also. So this was called for 100 stitches. So what I did here was I finished off this dark teal. I think I had one row to do of that. And then I started filling in the beehives there. There are vines and flowers that go around this little house of beehives, and I need to do the white still in the wings, and there's a little flower that goes here, and I need to fill in this flower here. But I'm just trying to color complete at this point. This also will stay in temperature stitching until it is finished. This is actually a project that I bought for my daughter, trying to teach her how to cross stitch, and she had no interest at the time. And so there were just a very, very few little stitches in one of these beehives. I think it was around here, because we did a middle start and then had sat ignored for a very long time. So all of this is from temperature stitching, and it will get finished pretty soon as long as it gets called. So really glad to have some progress on there. This is just on an off-white 24 count Ada with a call for DMC 2/1. And that's where we are at on that. The next piece, again, a very old piece, comes from this antique sampler and needlework book that I have from a very long time ago. This is what it will look like when it's done. It's not the greatest picture because I think I had to take the book and like put it down on the copier to try to get a photo of that. So you can tell from the date on this where this is started. I think I do have a picture of this where it was last time you saw it. This was called for 200 stitches. And that is what I did. So what I did is I just finished off that second tree, and you can tell, I know when I started this because I put the date in. You know how long this has been around. This has been around forever now. It is just with a called for DMC. For the most part, it's 2/2, but some of it, the words on the bottom, and there's a couple other pieces in there that I have not done yet that will be worked 1/1. But this is on this really, and you can see the stain over by my face. This is reclaimed cloth. I don't even know where I got it from at this point. And when I decided to pick it up and do it again, I soaked it because it was just gross. And it is very rough. and primitive. It's soft now because I soaked it and kind of cleaned it up, but there's a lot of slubs, a lot of unevenness, it's not horrible to stitch on. It's not my favorite thing to stitch on. The worst thing about stitching on this piece is that I didn't start it on the vertical thread for some reason. And so I have to fight my brain every time I'm stitching on it. So I finished off the tree. Here, medicine has not kicked in. I finished off this tree. I put this tree in. I put these couple little motifs in here on either side, I think. Still need to do the satin stitch in there. Did the little heart, and you probably can't see them, but there's a couple little light blue, very small, like 4-stitch motifs that I did. And that got me to my 200 stitches. So this also will stay in temperature stitching until it is done. I do really like it. It is so pretty. I am really looking forward to seeing this finished. So there's kind of like a vase and a couple little deer and some stuff in the middle. And like I said, it will stay in temperature stitching until it's done. So hopefully it will get called and we'll see some good progress on that coming up soon. The last piece of temperature stitching I have is Seasons 2, A Celebration by Hands On Design. If I'm getting that correct, I hope. I'm so bad at that. And it is being stitched on 28 count cypress. I'm not sure if this is a linen or a Lugana. By Hands On Design. Anyway, this is a stitch along I started a very long time ago and clearly fell super far behind. So it was called for 200 stitches. 200 stitches allowed me to finish off, I want to say it's wheelbarrow, because this is being done in the called for Classic Color Works. So the brown and the turkey, and then the white for the sign that is going to say November, and the turkey heads. And that was my 200 stitches. So got 200 stitches. Oh, and the little acorns off on the top too. So again, I was just as much as I could trying to work within the same color. There are some more, I think the white is marshmallow. There are some Smyrna crosses on those little acorns across the bottom, but I have some stitching I need to do in there before I can do those. But yeah, so 200 stitches into that. I think this is getting pretty close to, maybe not. This will not stay in temperature stitching until it's done because clearly there's a lot to do. I chose to do it all on one piece. There is the border, which is a very simple border out on Hands On Designs, if I'm getting that artist right, up on their website. And the border's just in black coffee, nothing exciting. I just really liked the idea of it all in one piece, and I like big pieces. So that was the temperature stitching for this week. So yeah, that was the temperature stitching. I'm not missing any stitches. The SAL progress I have 3 SALs that I have progress on today. The first ones are from the Steady Thread, and they are the Blackwork SALs. So the first one I need to show you is the 2026 SAL. I do not have a picture of what it will look like when it's done because it's a surprise when it comes out every week. And I did not take the picture of where I was last week. So this is where I'm at. So just working on the second month. The second release came out. The first release was just those little bubbles in the corner, and the second release was just this little bit here. So I am doing this on, it's just like 18 count white Aida, I believe, with cottage garden threads in Love Seat and Tool Shed. Both beautiful variegated threads. I have completed the outer border, and I have completed some of the inner border. The inner border is very wide, and then there is a square in the middle that I need to finish too. But so my deal with this, so really, as you can see, like this is 2 months worth of stitching right here. And it doesn't take very long to get that done. It really is the border that is the deal, trying to get that done so you can get placement and everything. So my deal with myself is that I will do the weekly stitching and then do one strand of floss towards trying to finish that inner border every week. I love stitching on this. I could stitch, stitch, stitch and get the whole inner border done, but I am trying to get other things done as well. So I'm limiting myself how much I can stitch on it every week. But the whole idea of doing this was that I wasn't going to do it because I fell very far behind on the 2025 SAL. And so I wasn't going to do it, but I fell in love with the design. And I was just like, okay, I'm going to set myself up for success. So I did all of the layout. So I would just have the weekly stuff to do and could work on the rest of the border and the layout as I needed to. I have a dog whining next to me, and I'm not sure if that is ever being picked up. But I might have to let people now they're barking, might need to let them out, and I'll just go do that right now. Hold on. Okay, dogs are outside and I am back. I'm not sure I can make it through a video without letting the dogs out. So anyone who has not done the Steady Thread SALs needs to go check it out. It's black work, and so it's fun. I just think it's so much fun. And they're for free every year. She does one for free every year. The weekly stitching is very, very reasonable. It's just getting the layout that takes a minute. So the second SAL that I worked on was the 2025 Steady Thread SAL. This is what it will look like when it's done. My colors are different, but that's the layout that I chose. And again, I don't have a picture from last week, but what I did on this was I did another circle, which is the weekly pattern. And then I added one length of floss to the border, trying to get the border finished on this one too. Now, this was the deal I made with myself. I was able to do the 2026 SAL if I, in concert, worked on the 2025 SAL. So clearly I didn't get very far. I still have to put all those little circles in for the rest of the year and still need to finish the border. But I am making such good progress on this, just doing 1 week of the pattern and the little bubbles, and then doing one strand of floss. So this is on Cafe Olay by Fiber on a Whim. I think it's 28 count Ada. And the border is just Black Coffee by Classic Colorworks. And the colors are just leftover flosses that I have that are Classic Colorworks, just trying to use up little bits of floss that I have from other things. Trying to stay kind of, sort of, I picked kind of some colors and just grabbed random flosses. I definitely have other colors I could put in there, but I'm not sure I will. Anyway, so yeah, so what I worked on was really this border. Well, we'll do this. It was, which way am I? It was this little circle right here. I think that's 13. And then I put a length of floss in. Oh my goodness, where is that? Over here. Just working on filling in the filigree in there. Classic Colorworks lengths are pre-cut, just like Cottage Garden threads, but they're a lot longer lengths. So I imagine I will have that border done sooner rather than later, and just fill out those circles. So, and after that, it'll just be the weekly stitching. So that'll be really easy. The third style I have to show you guys is Modern Folk Embroideries, 2026 SAL, little acorns. This is what it will look like when it's done. I do not have a before picture on this because it was so boring. But what I did was what Jacob recommended we do, and do the whole in January. My goal was to get all of the layout done, all of the border lines done. And I did that, again, eating my vegetables. So I did all of the borders. Let me show you the bottom. Yeah, it's a big piece. So I did all of the layout in January. So finally in February, I could start the fun stuff. I did not get super far on the fun stuff, but enough to scratch that itch to get that done. So I am doing this on Saltbush by Fox and Rabbit, 28 count linen. I love Fox and Rabbit's fabrics. And I am using DMC 816 that I soaked in a coffee dye, a very strong coffee dye. It's a dark color anyway. I just wanted it to have a little bit more dimension. I'm not sure whether it was worth it. I'm not sure whether anyone sees it except me, but I do see it a little bit when I'm stitching. So yeah, that's what I did. I really just wanted to do this whole row, which is my February goal, to get this top row done. And I'm doing the back stitching. There's just a little bit of back stitching as you do that while I go. But again, I knew I had other things to work on, and I knew the week ahead was very crazy and very busy. So I got a good start on that. And the goal is to have that row finished by the end of February. So wish me luck. Got a lot of stuff to do. The last piece I worked on this week was one of my WIPGO calls, Scandinavian Christmas, charted by Stitches So Beautiful. I believe the artist is Peggy Davis. I do not remember the house that she's working for. Let's see if I have this correct. Okay, I do. I should have a picture of this. Last time you saw it, excuse me, it was really just a sad little start. I guess I can hold it up this way. So for WIPGO, I am going to put 1,000 stitches in everything that comes up on WIPGO. The pieces I put in WIPGO are some of my bigger pieces, a fair amount of full coverage, some SALs that I failed on. So anyway, I don't have an exact stitch count for you, but I know I have like 370 some left, or 390 some left. So I was kind of trying with this to kind of do a little bit of a diagonal situation, but I will never do proper diagonals. But there is kind of method to my madness when I'm working on this. So a lot of it is 823, 939, and another blue that I'm not thinking about. But there are these little pockets of like little stars in the sky up here. And a lot of them have 3 or 4 colors. And a lot of those are like crazy little ninja stitches where we don't need them again. This is the start of a tree, like a Christmas tree in the background. And it is pretty, there's a lot of colors in it. So this is like a very interesting stitch. I was having a whole lot of fun stitching it, but there are places that are very, very block stitching. And then there are other places that are just crazy confetti. So I'm stitching this on 18 count white Aida. I think this is 18 count. Just using the called for DMC, 2 strands over 1 thing of Aida. I am not loving the coverage. Now, when I look at it on camera, it does not look bad. I mean, yes, are there little spots, but yes, I haven't finished that. When I look at it in person, all I can see is the spaces between the threads, but I'm not starting it over. This is not pre-gridded, so I just took some pink sewing thread and did the first 5 rows across and down, the columns down. I am limiting myself here because I quickly found out I needed more. And so I am limiting myself for now until I get those 1,000 stitches in. To not go too far outside my homemade grid. And yeah, so I will probably get this finished this upcoming week because I really, really, really want to get my WIPGO calls done. And my other is a full coverage piece also. So I was having a lot of fun sitting down and stitching on this and seeing it start to come to life. There's not a lot happening up in that corner. But but I'm excited to get the little tree, excited to get some extra pieces of that done and that all in there. So those are all of the WIPs that I have. I do have one small little tiny piece of haul. I did order something else yesterday, day before yesterday, but it's not here yet, so it doesn't count as haul as far as I'm concerned. So the only haul that I have is floss that came in, the Silk and Colors floss that came in for JetX Stitches series new Alchemy that I was missing. So the 2 skeins that came in for that, and these ones are Violin, no glasses, Violin Serenade, and they are so pretty. Oh my gosh. I have not used floss from this company before, and it is just gorgeous. So I'm really excited. Now, I did not start yet, and I'm desperate to start on it. I really, really, really want to start. But I told myself that I will get one more WIP finished before I start. And I have not got that WIP finished yet. I don't have another finish in 2025. So I have not let myself start any one of those 4 pieces. I have them all kitted up. I've got the patterns. I have all the floss now. I have the fabric. They are single color pieces. They are not very big. Super excited to start, but I am being very good and not letting myself start it. And not that I have an ungodly number of WIPs. I have a whole lot of kits and I've got a good number of things kitted up, but I mean, my WIPs are sitting at like 38, 37 or 38 right now. And so that's not crazy. That's not bad. But the thing is, I have this plan. I have to have a plan. Because if I don't have the structure, I will not get anything done because it's decision paralysis at that point. So I've got bigger projects in my WIPGO. They're all in there twice. And then I've got my SALs that I'm working on. And then every other project that I have started with, that I have started cross-stitch wise, will be rotating into, well, okay, that's not entirely true. Is either so old that it'll be rotating in through temperature stitching, or I have catch-up stitches to do on it from last year, whether it was Whip into Shape, whether it was Great British Bake Off, whether it was Gridiron Grind. I've got all this list of catch-up stitching to do. So every single WIP I have fits in those categories. It's either going to be rotating into temperature stitching, I have catch-up stitches to do on it, or it's on WIPGO, or is a current SAL. So starting something new, I don't know what to do with it because I don't know how to put it in my plan to make sure that I keep working on it. So that's kind of sort of what's going on with that, but I know I will start something new soon and I'll figure it out. It probably, even though it's not catch-up stitching, I don't have any immediate plans, like anything in catch-up stitching. It's like, that's my stitch what you want when you want. I can pick those up whenever. And I have one of them, something that's catch-up stitching from Great British Bake Off is very close to a finish, but it won't catch up all the stitches because my category assigned was just smalls, and it's a small that needs to get finished. And I think 100 or 200 stitches will finish it, but it won't finish up that person's catch-up stitching. But I do think I'm going to finish it off and allow myself to start one of those. And then I could just start something new to do the catch-up stitching, another small to do the catch-up stitching later. These things are too big to be called smalls for me. I've got a lot of smalls. Yeah, so that's really what I've got going on. So, like I said, I surpassed 300 followers. I'm not sure if some of those are bots or not that are going to be wiped out by YouTube at some point, but I am just going to take it. And I really appreciate all the support that I have had from all of you guys out there for doing these videos. It's so nice. And the people I have met and the people who have left comments and I've started to get to know a little bit, it just has expanded my stitchy world, and I appreciate that greatly. So what I would like to do is give away a $30 gift card to 123 Stitch to one of my followers. So in order to be eligible to win this gift card, what you need to do is leave me a comment below. And what I would like in that comment is the word Nashville, because anyone and everybody in the stitching world knows that Nashville market is coming up, and I have been cruising Nashville releases. I don't just want the word Nashville. I want the word Nashville and what Nashville release you are most drawn to right now. If you don't know, I mean, I don't think any site has all of them. Lindy Stitches, I will link that below, has a good number of them, and they come up right away on her website. So if you look and start scrolling through there, let me know. Are there any of those that you are really drawn to? There are a lot that I am really drawn to. I need to stop looking because I keep finding more. I will probably let myself buy a couple, even though I have no business buying a couple, because I have so many patterns that are beautiful and I love, and I want to get started. Some are kitted up, some are not, but I was just starting to think about all of the patterns that I have that I want to do. So I have no business buying new patterns, but I will probably buy new patterns. There are a couple that there are a lot that I'm really drawn to, but there are a couple that I'm kind of surprised I haven't ordered yet. So all of the standard rules applies. Don't use the words giveaway, pick me, like any of that stuff, because that just brings in trolls and people who aren't stitchers and just want free stuff. And I want it to go to a stitcher. So leave me a comment with the word Nashville and let me know which, if any, of the new market releases you are most drawn to. I'm always really interested in seeing what other people are stitching. And the wonderful thing about the world of stitching is that people are always drawn to different things. And so if there is something maybe that you're looking at that maybe I haven't considered fully, your comment will probably cause me to go look at it and consider it again. So yeah, leave me a comment, like the video, and I will be drawing that before I record next week. So I hope to record on Saturday. It might be Sunday. I don't know. Half considering a trip to Colorado to see my daughter and granddaughters. And so if I do that, I don't know. I don't know if I can record there. They have better light. I'd have granddaughters popping in. That would be kind of fun. I don't know. I might have to record some of it beforehand if I end up doing that. But anyway, I probably won't go next weekend. It might be the weekend after. But anyway, I will draw a winner before I record my next video and announce that, and hopefully get some good stitchy money out to somebody so they can pick up some of those Nashville releases. So with that, thank you. Really super glad you could join me, and we will see you next week. Take care.